You're listening to the Paul Young Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to Paul Young Podcast. We're going to be wrapping up letters from Joani. This is part 10, and I think we're going to end up with 11, which seems to be kind of an odd number. Actually, it is an odd number, and it's a prime number, so maybe it's appropriate. I don't know. Maybe down the road we'll hear a little more from Joani. I don't know. It's been a great series. I really love it. And last time we talked about ego. In part 9, talked about ego and about suffering. I think some really profound things came out of that. I've gone back and re-looked at the words and they've impacted me greatly. So I really love that. So if I'm going to say, listen to one of the series, I'd suggest listening to number 9. But there's been a lot of good stuff, let me tell you. Let's continue with the emails from Joani. Thank you, Paul. And this is now December of last year. We're moving quickly onwards. I had to read your letter to ego a whole bunch of times. It is so full of all the things I feel but haven't been able to express. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. And what you said, quote, why romanticize suffering as if it's a target of holiness, unquote, made me cry tears of relief. That is exactly it. That nailed it right on the head. That has been the thing within me that I couldn't quite see but felt deeply all tangled up with the cross and kenosis and what it means to show Jesus. I mean it, and I love him. In all my interactions, even the ones where he just holds me through pain, Jesus has been so full of life, and he has spent so much time trying to convince me to live, even when it's hard, and I'd rather sleep it away. When I hurt others or myself, he has been so patient and determined and gentle as he roots out what I'm doing. I am the one that always reaches for a sledgehammer to bash that sin out of me, not caring if I leave giant holes in myself in the process. But he always takes it out of my hands, if he can get it in time, and asks me to let him take care of me. I thought that he gets so much joy out of my attempts to create and just be with him in spaces of experience with family and friends and this crazy, messed up world. One of the things that seeing Jesus nailed eternally to the cross feels like that's exactly what kenosis is romanticizing suffering. And so I wonder if every interaction I had with him was just a silly wish and not his heart. I had another sort of vision in the midst of researching in which all the churchgoers I knew were lifting up crosses all around Jesus and trying to climb up and nail themselves to them so they could be closer to him. And meanwhile, on the ground, men and women who hadn't yet met Jesus were walking by without seeing any of their sacrifices. I had this rebellious thought that Jesus doesn't care about the cross much. I feel like I'm not allowed to say that. It merely shows his determination to close the distance we put between him and us, our belief in the lie of infinite separation, to reclaim us and bring us back home to him where we belong. We look at it and we're awestruck by the lengths he goes to. He is too busy looking at us and figuring out how to make love real and visible and complete in us and his earth and him. Is that sacrilegious? I never want to dismiss what's important to him, if so. I've had this strange experience these past 3 months, where everything is fine on the surface and I have no reason to complain, but my soul feels like a raw, exposed nerve. I haven't been able to talk about it to anyone much. I had no words and no desire either, but I think it's slowly getting better now, maybe. All I know is, I love Jesus, and I'm going to trust him to sort me out, even if I can't see what is missing. You're a comfort. Thank you for expressing gentleness and hope in his love. I'll keep you in my heart as you go around shining the light. A couple thoughts that I have in particular about the cross, and that is I completely agree with the struggle that Joani is having with regard to it and the way that it's romanticized. There's a whole nother dimension of a conversation about the cross that is vitally important and significant. We can't disassociate the God who is love from the cross. And yes, we've romanticized suffering as if it was a romanticized thing for God, which it was not. It was horrible. It was terrible. And it was where God reveals his very character and nature the most. If you want to know what God is like, you look at the cross because it is the greatest expression of the self-submission of God to creation, to us. And it exposes that God is only love, and that love is self-giving, co-suffering, other-centered, and self-sacrificial. And that's different than climbing up on a cross and trying to nail yourself to it to prove that you're worthy of God's affection and attention. So the cross is the throne of God. It is, and it ought to be reverenced in that way, not for the cross, but for the revelation of the nature and character of God that is revealed by the cross. God did not place himself on a crucifix in order to prove to us that God was good. It is God who is good who succumbs and submits to the cross that we place him on, and he accepts that and redeems it as the revelation of his character and goodness. So much mystery in all of this, yes, but I totally get what Joani is saying. This is all the way then to May. So we're getting closer. This is a jump from December to May. Yeah, there were other things in between, but not things that I particularly want to focus on. So this is from Joani. First off, isn't Abigail awesome? Now, Abigail is a name of one of Joani's kids, Joani and Sam's. Isn't Abigail awesome? Jesus did a good job creating that girl, as he did with all kids, I know. She was a gift to me. I didn't want to have kids, and when I found out I was pregnant, I asked Jesus if I could at least have a girl, as I wept in the shower over being stuck in a Mennonite woman's body. And it was the first time I heard his voice clearly saying, yes. I'm so thankful, and I just love her heart. And she was so thankful for her moment with you and the idea you and then Eden and then Baxter put in her about the spirit being presented feminine. Secondly, I have this idea in my head of what I'm supposed to feel like day to day, what manner of being I want to exhibit, and it's this always serene, always loving person in tune with Jesus and the Spirit that I just leak out Jesus love everywhere I go and with every conversation I have. Ha ha. I tell myself all manner of things. For instance, I have no expectations for this trip. I'm going to trust and just see what comes of it. It's okay if I don't get a chance to talk with Paul or Bradley. I will be present and I will be accepting. These are all the things I said to myself before I came. And I believed them. In fact, I woke up saying them every morning that we were at the conference as well. But to be honest, I didn't really come for the teaching, although I always love when you guys say stuff. I came to be near you and Bradley, at best to get a chance to talk and sit together, at worst to just be in the same room so I could remember there's more to this life of hope and Jesus. I came to talk to others that might be experiencing what it's like outside of the traditional church room. I came to meet others who maybe love Jesus just as much as me, or more, and I want to talk about his stuff as much as I long to. I think unknowingly at first, I compared Canmore to that weekend on Barnabas, where we stayed in the same place, had downtime, and a chance to visit at the tables rather than just being taught and then dispersing. No blame here, just wasn't able to not wish for those things as someone who's a bit shy and has a hard time reaching out. I also wanted to have that same experience where I was just able to let go and be still and watch Spirit work. So that was my expectation that I didn't realize right away that I had and was struggling with. I was disgruntled, stuck in my head, disconnected, felt out of my body, resentful of my attitude that I wasn't full of peace, and feeling alienated and invisible all week. I hate when I notice those things, when I feel those things. I feel so much self-hate that I get stuck there wishing to be seen. It's like I was playing out an object lesson of what Eden talked about with the suitcase of brokenness and stuff we don't like and being inside it with Jesus. I've never mirrored a talk so thoroughly. Ha! This year, I guess I've learned again how to seek Jesus in the dark. When Sam started drinking again and things got out of control, when I went through all those dreams and church woundings that I didn't know I still had on top of it, I wanted to go catatonic. I wished I could just disappear. I wanted to stop living. But then Jesus held me there, little by little, day by day, and that's where I crawled up onto the cross for the first time since it had been used to spank me and tell me how bad I am. A little bit of healing, a lot of love from Jesus. Do you understand? This is after this big conversation about the cross and about suffering. And she's saying that part of what she found important in this struggle of deep sense of loss and wanting to go catatonic and not wanting to live was that she was finally able to crawl onto the cross where Jesus is for the first time, as she said, since it was used to spank me and tell me how bad I am. A little bit of healing, a lot of love from Jesus. And now Sam has pulled himself out of his drinking mostly, for now, and everything is okay. He's okay, and I'm supposed to be okay too. And I want to be. It's hard not to wait for it to start again. It's hard not to think Jesus only comes to me in the dark. So maybe I should just find a way to stay there somehow rather than this in-between. That invisible stuff? My mom always wanted me to be invisible. She hated when I spoke up in groups. She always told me being mature meant being quiet and unseen. And my Sunday school teacher told me that too. That women were meant to be quiet, shy, stay at the back, always away from attention. I took those lessons to heart, and I still feel them deeply. I got upset with Spirit, with Jesus, for not fixing me, for not taking away that grumpiness and helping me be a ray of sunshine instead. I think that Winnie the Pooh quote I wrote you was just as much for me as for you. It made me picture myself as a grumpy little rain cloud and made me laugh. And when I was feeling sorry for myself, Jesus distracted me with thinking of you and painting you a picture. Glad I had that moment of being pulled out of myself. Anyway, you quoted Augustine, how Jesus left to return to our hearts so that we could find him there. That was right after I told him he was impossible to get to. I pictured him like you and Bradley, always inundated with people wanting your attention, and then I pictured myself as needy. What a pity party I was having. Thank you for what you shared. It was so full of Spirit. And you told me you were thinking about me one morning when you woke up. This was the argument I was in with the Spirit, that I was invisible. It makes me laugh, even if I cry too. Talk about being in the suitcase of stuff we don't want to look at. That was me this whole week, wishing to be anywhere else. But somehow I know Jesus is teaching me something. Something about wanting to be perfect all the time. Something about not hiding. Something about being invisible. Eventually, he'll make it clear. I'm just so glad I get to write you these emails, even if I'm rambling. And I'm praying for you, even in my Eeyore-like state. I know Jesus hears me. Praying that you get a squeeze from him, a reassurance, that the men on death row feel comfort somehow, some way, that they can find joy even in the grief. So much love and affection, and thanks for letting me ramble. I love your ramblings, and they are ways that you work at not staying invisible, of growing in substance. And yes, Abigail is awesome, amazing, and such a good expression of you. So glad she came. And yes, I love the card. It will go in my special place where I stash all the kindnesses and cares that matter especially to me. Your ramblings covered a lot of territory, sort of like a cross-country train ride, stopping along the way to see what might be there. Some of the towns look the same, but none of them truly are. Thank you for the honor of letting me ride along. It is funny, odd, interesting maybe even important to see how differently we see the same event. You dealing with expectations of what a situation might hold, and me feeling stronger knowing you are there because of the life we have already shared. It's like I can relax. Joani is here, and I know she has my back. It was so good to see you in the room. Thank you for your prayers, for me and for those I love. It matters intensely. Today I drove up near Mount Hood, where friends have a little place, to respond to the editor's suggestions on the last major editing cycle, hopefully the last. I have the place till Tuesday, but hope to get the work done before then. This part is hard and challenging, but so important and good, and your prayers are welcome. I love you lots, and love to Abigail too. And one more in this session. This one is May the 28th, about 2 weeks past that last little interchange. Paul, I had to share with you a little bit of what Jesus showed me this morning about invisibility. I'm all full to bursting with how cool he is, and had to tell someone about it. I don't know if you remember me sharing with you that was one of my suitcase things, the broken stuff we carry around that popped up when Eden led that exercise. Well, when I showed it to Jesus, he handed me his invisibility cloak in exchange, kind of like Harry Potter. I was confused by this, and that was where the exercise ended during that session. It's stuck in my head for the past week. My initial thought was that he was trying to tell me to grow up and get over my feelings around the notion of being invisible that I struggled with growing up. And my responding needed to try and get seen, and then my spiral of self-hate that I felt that way. Anyway, I brought it up with Bradley and asked his opinion on it. He suggested I explore it more with Jesus, and that maybe instead of my spiral, it was just a gentle way for Jesus to get me to move on past wounds. I realized over the past several years that Jesus never tries to make me move on by telling me it's time to move on. He's shaken me a couple times when I've got stuck in self-hate and was hurting myself and others. But even that was so full of love, I never felt violence or anger at me, just at the trap I was in. Maybe something about my personality, or my religious wounds on perfect behavior, or the ways I spiral into self-hate so easily, or try too hard to fix it myself. Anyway, with me, he always gets me to move by inviting me into something he is, and showing me how easy it can be with him as my partner in it. I believe that Jesus doesn't do things he doesn't want to do. Not arguing against kenosis, meaning that he is the epitome of good, and he does hard things because he sees the bigger picture and knows what will come when he acts. So, I asked him about what is good about invisibility, what he likes about it, what are the benefits, and the first thing that came to me was, 1, freedom. The ability to let us, his created things, be ourselves and choose and live an adventure of discovery. It's invisibility cloak toward us. 2, mystery. The ever-expanding horizon he invites us into, and the ability he has to move past physical limits to all those layers he likes to create. With his invisibility, there's always more. Through time and space and all the ways that quarks to the universe and spirit, the tug of this is a sense of magic. Maybe wonder is a better word. But I think in our imaginations we always get a little sliver of truth, and maybe Jesus is the real feeling behind magic, rather than the word that we've twisted into control and power. So 1, freedom for us. 2, invitation into mystery. And that is 3, invitation. The tug, the clues, the call of him that we get to follow and look for and feel. Something here about love and humility and gentleness and intrigue. Anyway, it was maybe more a feeling than a word for me, but it was such a breath of fresh sunlight for him to share that little bit of adventure with me. The idea of being invited into a sense of his invisibility rather than being wounded by my twisted idea that worth equals being visible. He invited me to step into his invisibility with him, and it felt like such an adventure after such a long case of sadness. Love and hugs. P.S. I told him to give you a squish today and to pull your family in close to you. Hope you feel the flannel of his shirt against your cheek and the joy of your Kim and your kids. Amen.